Sorry, get off the tripod. I have a cat on the tripod. Hello, good yo-yo people. I'm Nate, and this is Let's Talk Yo-Yo. Today I have another review for you. This is from Reticulated Return Tops, or Retic. This is a massive beast of a yo-yo. Today I have a review for you of their Burm. This is my review of Burm. I've mentioned a couple times on this channel, Doc Pop's channel, Dr. Popular, his podcast. On a recent episode of podcast, he got to interview Neil, who's the owner of Reticulated, and talked about the Berm and the Ultra, which is coming up as well. And I have one of those for review as well. One of the things that I gleaned from that interview was that the Berm here was influenced by a Diablo. Neil had a Diablo like on his desk or something like that, and it was inspired by that. So one of the things that I want you to hear though, real quick, I'm gonna get real close to the mic. My goodness, is that nice? That ding. While we're up here too, take a look at those engravings. Is that the right side? Yeah, it's the right side. Really detailed. It's on both sides there. It's like this hornet or wasp or what have you. I'm not sure all the symbolism there. There's quite a few things going on, but pretty cool. Anyways, let's talk about that since we got it here. It's of course an organic yo-yo. It's just giant. I mean, it's just huge. My goodness, just massive. You know, kind of, okay, give you an idea here. All right, my hands are pretty big, and it's covering my entire palm there, the diameter of it. The width of it is also huge. It's actually pretty comfortable in a hand on a catch though because of that shape. And it's so open that I wouldn't necessarily consider this high-walled necessarily. There is a little smooth ring there, or smooth ring there, just to kind of keep it away from the wall just a little bit. But yeah, you can see that ring there, a little smooth ring. So you can just get a little less friction there, and just kind of helps just a little bit there. And I like this purple. Looks real nice. It's gonna basically just look purple spinning. You're not really gonna see that splash there of that silver, but silver splash on there. Comes in a couple different colorways. Really unique yo-yo. One that does not fit in my case. I have like the traditional like foam cutout circles that I cut out with a tomato paste can. This is too big. That's an interesting dilemma. Like I said, talked about the shape a little bit, how it covers in the hand. Catch is gonna be actually fairly smooth. You're gonna guess that just based on the weight of it, that it would be kind of cumbersome, but sometimes specs are misleading, especially when it comes to large yo-yos. You know, you're just gonna have a fairly heavy mass on a yo-yo whenever it's just this big. And so, you could look at the specs and say, wow, it's gonna play like a brick. But based on what I know from playing other yo-yos in this kind of size, that's just huge like this, in diameter at least, it's oftentimes misleading. So don't just always trust the specs. So it's right there, almost around 70 grams. So it's pretty huge. As far as weight. Definitely check out the full specs there. I'm not gonna waste your time with that right now, but in the description box, you'll see the full specs. But yeah, let's go ahead and play it, see how it actually plays on the string, and see some of the unique properties that this yo-yo has to offer on the string. All right, there we go. Man, it kind of just takes off. Play with a yo-yo this big, and then you're gonna go to something that's like even normal size, you know, say something around like a 54, 55 normal size. It just like, it kind of messes with your mind because you kind of get used to it. I did that with the Ultra whenever they sent it, and I played this for a little bit first because I was just more intrigued by it, just because it's just so different. And then I picked up the Ultra, and I was like, okay, those are completely different yo-yos. But it really, the Ultras are just more of a normal everyday yo-yo. This is not. You know, one of the things that I was pleasantly surprised with is how smooth it is. It's not absolutely dead smooth, but it's a good 9 out of 10. For such a big yo-yo, I would expect there to be some issues with wobble just a little bit because it's just so massive. That I would assume it would be a challenge to machine a little bit. One of the things I always like to try out with a larger yo-yo is like regens. And even that, I don't know if you could hear that, like you can hear that bowl sort of ding that you oftentimes get on like titanium yo-yos. You can certainly kind of have that same sort of sound with it just because of how massive it is. Kind of reminds me of like if you've seen like the singing bowls, you could probably almost do that with this if you had like the little paddle or whatever that comes with that you can kind of run along the edge. I bet you could make it sing. But yeah, regens are actually really nice on it and fairly controlled. It is a little bit slower. You kind of have to feel like you push it a little bit, but you don't feel that heavy weight. It certainly doesn't feel like a brick. It has fairly decent maneuverability for the size it is. So yeah, you have to kind of slow down with it a little bit. Like I said, once you get used to it though, and then you pick up something that's, you know, in that just normal size, average size, it's just gonna feel so strange to you. Well, let's go ahead and do a couple of those standard tricks. Oh, I did a few too many there. But it's actually not too bad for wraps, for an organic, you know. This is not a competition yo-yo. This is a just super fun yo-yo, something that's gonna be really different. If you're a collector especially, this is really gonna appeal to you. Or if you're just looking for something just completely outside of the box, this is gonna be it as well. If you are having problems hitting that gap, that's you. I'd be interested to see what this would actually feel like with off string. I don't really play off string, but I'd be leery to even throw a metal yo-yo in general. But let's go ahead and test out rejections. You know, it's not bad. And just the size of it kind of gives it a natural stability too. It's not rim weighted whatsoever. It's kind of just a general overall weight distribution. But because of just how big it is, it doesn't want to tilt like at all, which is pretty great. So it sort of naturally is that way. But it's definitely not rim weighted. Just for kicks, let's see how it does for horizontal. Let's see if I don't hurt myself here. It's surprisingly okay. It's surprisingly okay. Now that pool in there, and I won't even say that, it's like not even a bowl, it's like a pool. It's so just massive. It does move around quite a bit, but, whoa. But you can certainly pull off some finger spins with it. The blast is kind of just a general, you know, matte blast. You can feel a little bit more of that vibe on a grind, but it's not unbearable, and it grinds pretty well. Let's go ahead and throw one of my tricks and see how it performs with that, and then we'll call it a day. So the Burm by Reticulated Return Tops. Man, what a fun yo-yo. That's really, I think, what I'm landing on here the more I play it. It is a novelty yo-yo. I would put it in that category, but it plays really well and it's fairly comfortable in the hand. Sometimes if you don't have your thumb, at least from my hands, if you don't have your thumb more on the inside, kind of ready to grip it like this, if you grip it like this, I've hit my hand a lot recently, and maybe that's just kind of it being sore right there, but that edge can hit there. Now the edge is rounded, but just because of the mass of the yo-yo, and if you have a hard spin coming up on that bind, it might hit there just a little bit harder than you like. But overall, the catch in the hand's comfortable, but because it's so big, you do have to be kind of careful a little bit. Just don't be super aggressive with maybe your binds when you're first kind of learning to catch it. So give it a little bit of grace and be a little bit more deliberate with your binds and your catches. But anyways, other than that, I really like it. It's actually got some really decent spin times because of how of a mass it is. I mean, it's huge and it's heavy. It doesn't feel heavy, like I talked about. It doesn't feel like a brick. But because of that mass, it actually has some really decent spin times. And because of that size also, it kind of deceptively, without having a lot of rim weight, is very stable. Just because it naturally wants to be stable. And so it's organic and comfortable in that way, but it's gonna have some of those performance aspects that something a lot smaller would have, just because it's huge, it's heavy, it's stable, and it has decent spin time, just because it's so big. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, really, really fun. Give the Burm a chance. My next review from Reticulated Return Tops will be the Ultra, a more standard yo-yo, but it's a really fun yo-yo as well. So be looking for that. So that's gonna be it for my review of the Burm by Reticulated Return Tops. And as usual, good day and good yo-yo.